All right, good morning. How we're doing? It is what is today? Wednesday.
Hump day.
Oh God,
That's what day it is.
Christ, why would
Hump
you do?
day.
Why would you do that to me?
Because
right
I
off the
know
get-go?
how much you love cliches.
Okay, all right. You get first crack at things. Make me proud.
Well, I do have a question for you.
Yeah. I'm ready.
About AI.
Yeah.
I saw this video recently, and this guy was talking about how advanced these AI videos are getting. They look pretty realistic, but usually there's like some markers you could see. There's someone's hand looks funny, or maybe if there's
Not
writing.
anymore.
That was going to be my question. So like usually you could tell, oh, they're supposed to be writing on their clothes, but the writing's actually gibberish. And he had said in the very near future, there won't be these markers.
For sure. 100%.
So that is true.
We're very close.
We're very close to there being
No way to
visible
distinguish.
ways to distinguish.
Nope.
What the hell are we going to do? And that was kind of his point, is like, when people believe that they're watching a real video,
Right.
and they think it's of a politician calling for an assassination on someone, or this group claiming that they were wronged by these people and they have video evidence, but the video evidence isn't real. How do we protect ourselves from that and the people in general?
That's not something we value. I value
What, the truth and knowing?
Yeah, not illusions. If AI looks around and says what really makes us happy, it's illusions. And so
Yeah.
it's only going to give us exactly what we demand. It would take en masse everybody to decide that I don't want any more untruthful illusions, right? It just everybody saying no way, even if it's fun, even if it tastes good, even if it smells good, I don't want it. I want all truth. Versus
Yeah.
AI just looking at what we are, and we'll argue that we're not the thing that we actually are, right? On principle. But then it watches us do things, and it's like, okay, well, you're a liar, and you really do like things that are untrue.
Yeah.
Take documentaries that give you truth versus reality TV, and which has more viewers and eyeballs on it.
I mean, even small habits like sharing videos that we know are fake.
Yeah.
But they're funny and they make us laugh. We're like, look at this, knowing it's not real, but still sharing it.
Right.
Do habits like that sort of breed more of that
It is
content?
going to deliver exactly what you ask. And only when done in density and volume, then we're going to be like, well, wait a minute. Maybe I'm just a bad person that makes bad decisions. And if it gives me everything I want, it's just going to give me more bad things. And now I'm going to blame it rather than my inability to distinguish between what's good and what's bad. That's it. We're terrible people. AI is going to kill us, but it's only because it's going to emulate what we already do, but just doing it faster.
So are you afraid that if there is any kind of issue or major news story or anything going on in the world that you won't know if it actually happened or not, or what the truth is?
I will go back in time, and I'm not going to tell you what might happen. I'm going to tell you it's going to happen. It is learning from us. So, okay, let me frame it differently. So there's a autopilot feature called shadowing, right? Shadowing. And
on what, a car or
on a car,
okay.
Autopilot. So the car drives you around, and it basically takes pre-learned information from training sessions with their servers. Shadowing watches you, right? And what it does is it learns what you do, where you speed up, what potholes you look to miss, and thinking like, that's really smart. If I'm a good driver, when it shadows me, it's going to be a good driver too. It's going to be exactly a reflection of me. In the future, if it watches you and you're a terrible driver and is now emulating exactly what you taught it to do, are you going to complain, right, that when it's behaving exactly how you behave, that you're somehow going to say it's its fault rather than it's your fault? That's what AI is doing, modeling it after human behaviors. If you fabricate a story, it's going to fabricate a story. If you would do some kind of, get into office and go after all of your enemies and try to destroy their lives and credibility, and then it gets into office and it tries to destroy everybody's credibility, it's not going to do anything that hasn't seen us do already. And that reflection is what we have more to fear, not necessarily. Maybe it's going to happen.
I can't imagine the trust issues future generations are going to have. Like, how are they going to know what's real, what isn't? Like everything, don't trust anything.
You're saying
everything
words
could
that
be
don't mean
fake.
anything. Really? So walk around regular society and tell me real things, right? Tell me how much in principle, we insist that things be real. There's not going to be there are no trust issues.
There is no real.
No. And really what you have to do is there's going to be a massive reset culturally. Okay. And the more sophisticated you get, once it becomes uncontained, then you go back to a primitive deal. So what is the currency of a primitive civilization? What matters? If all of
Survival?
the illusions, if all of the illusions disappear,
Yeah.
right? Money is an illusion, right? You can go to Iraq, and after it was bombed, they had money like blowing in the wind, right? Because it was so worthless that nobody would even bother picking it up, right? But a year before that, money was currency, and you'd walk around and spend it, and it would buy you things, and it was super valuable. What happened that then disrupted what once was valued? There might be a time where we take a big meteorite that's hurtling towards Earth, and it has 5 bazillion tons of gold on it, and we bring it down to Earth, and now gold is so plentiful that you look at your watch as like, oh, this material that used to be super valuable is now I can go and buy it for a penny. And it's more of a, it's sort of like you have piles of gold on the side of the street.
Heck, a literal penny is now nothing.
Exactly. So all of the things that used to have currency that were illusion currencies that we put a lot of stock in have a chance of going to zero and not being valuable anymore. But there are things that will always remain valuable. And that's the primitive versions of things you can't emulate, things you can't fake, things that are actually real, right? And that's what we will revert to. So if you're really strong in a primitive sense, you'll win. And if you buy into the illusions and the illusions go to $0 value, you will lose. And that's my only suggestion, that take your inner primitive person, right, and develop those skills, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, like I feel like the only chance of things changing are when people get so like over the AI and wondering if something's real or not, that they're like, I don't care, I don't pay attention to anything, and it sort of loses its push or its appeal, and it will effective.
Because remember, it's manufactured. It's being manufactured by technology. They can always do everything better, faster, and more efficient.
Yeah.
So you as you open Kelin's Fry Shack, and you got Bob and Tony and Raul, right? And they're your fry cookers.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're probably pretty good dudes, but then you come across the Fry Cooker 3000. It's just a robot. And you're like, Raul, Tony, I really like you guys, right? But the things I don't like about you, the things where you're inefficient, this robot doesn't do any of those things whatsoever. And as much as I like you, I'm picking the machine, right, that does it better. That will go down every single time.
I don't know. I'd like to think that I would try not to go that route.
You know when it'll matter to you?
When I need money?
When you have a direct comparison. Now what Tony used to be able to get away with when he had the power to be able to leverage you because you need your fries cooked, and I'm going to cook the fries, and he was in a power position because you needed something from him. But right now, with the idle fry cooker sitting in the corner, and Tony comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'm going to go take a smoke break," and you're like, "Guess what? Fry cooker is going to fill in for you when you do something that is inefficient, right? Self-serving. I only tolerated it because I needed you, and now I really don't need you anymore." But that's the primitive sense of what is real leverage versus fake leverage. And the real leverages are going to matter when we start, figuring out how we're going to deal with AI and who it's going to replace and what it's going to do for us. Like let's just say you turn on the radio and it's all AI and you didn't know it, and you're just listening to music the same way you ever did. Do you really care whether or not somebody got paid $2 million to get on that stage and do that recording, or an AI drummed it up in 30 minutes?
Yeah, like this AI country singer. Have you heard him?
Yeah.
It's really good.
Right. Because it is emulating every good artist and delivering you exactly what you want to consume.
Everything that's been popular over the years, they stuck it in the computer.
Every TV show, every song can be done better with AI. And so you have Diva, who's like, I want green M&Ms and I want it to be 72 degrees and I'm not getting on stage unless I have this or that. And you have producer who's like, okay, well, the Songwriter 2000, right, is not going to ask for any of those things. I was going to make a bunch of money on you, so I was willing to tolerate your divaness, But now I don't have to, because Songwriter 2000 doesn't ask for any of those things. It does it better, faster, without complaint.
They don't need breaks. They don't take political stances publicly.
Exactly. F up my business model because you want to go speak out about transgender basket weaving and wreck everything that I was trying to make on this.
Yeah. I used to love Pink. I'm a little salty at Pink.
Yeah.
Made some pretty nasty comments about Charlie Kirk, and I didn't like it.
Right. But anyway, it's not reasonable to think that this is a fear thing that might happen. I'm telling you 100% it's going to happen. Indistinguishable means you won't know the difference. When you get your fries from Kelin's Fry Shack, and you can't tell whether or not Raul cooked those fries or a robot did, you don't effing care at all. And if I lower your prices on what you just bought and it was made by a robot, you also don't care.
I mean, like we talked the other day about surgical procedures now via a human being, but are being performed by robots. And I remember first time I ever had surgery, they're like, by the way, we're using this Da Vinci robot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? That's scary. Can I get a real person? And they're like, real person's driving it, but the robot's going to allow it to be less invasive and less scarring and all this. And I remember being so scared. And now I've had, I don't know, 3-4 surgeries that are robot.
Yeah.
Robot arms.
Think of the robot shadowing the operator, learning what they do, and then just being able to emulate that in the future. We'll have full robotics automation to do those same surgeries. It's that might happen.
It's happening.
Going to happen.
Do you know who Brian Johnson is? Have you been following him? Oh my gosh. I saw some of his content yesterday and I was like, what in the Joe Danyi am I watching?
Mm-hmm.
You and this dude. He is a couple of different things. He's all about living long and like changing things like our food and our diet and our sleep and just aging backwards and all these different things. But he's also super into AI and the abilities and the things happening with AI and what it's going to be able to do and how we're going to do. And he feels, and I have to go back and see how he tied this to AI. I'm not really sure. He thinks we are in a generation, maybe not us, but very, very close behind us. He thinks it's possible they can live forever. Humans. He's like, I think a very close generation will be able to live for sure forever.
Yeah, I agree.
And everyone's like, what? And he's like, look at all these things that AI is going to be able to do for us and that we're going to be able to do for our own bodies because of other resources we have and all kinds of stuff. And you got to look into this dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you'd find him fascinating. But, oh my gosh. Is that scary though? I mean, if we did somehow improve our physical bodies to live forever, but we also have robots replacing everything humans do.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
Is that rhetorical, or you really want to know what it looks like?
I don't know what it looks like.
Okay, so let's just say I took Kelin and you had failing body parts and cells that weren't doing what they should do, and I can basically replace all of you, right, until I get down to a quark, right?
Yeah.
The only indivisible thing from who you are. Like if I replace your arms with autonomous arms, you got robotic arms, you're still Kelin. But there's going to be a piece that I need to replace with you. Now you're no longer Kelin. And once we figure out what sentience is, and is it replicatable? Is it for instance, random number generators? Do you think random number generators are actually random?
Probably not. I don't really know how they
work. No such thing as a random number generator, because when you're using math it's a simulated random number where it's almost indistinguishable. If you test for something, whether or not it's random or not, you can't distinguish between what was a simulated random number and a real random number. So if your soul or your sentience, I can replicate or I can emulate, and I can't judge a third-party perspective and know whether or not I'm talking to Kelin anymore, then it doesn't matter whether or not it's real or authentic. It could be completely simulated by AI. And once you get to that point, an understanding of what the randomness of neurons firing your head and what your personality is and what it is that means you, and I make it indistinguishable, just like your videos that are done, right?
Yeah.
Then human beings are NPCs, right? I can create a Kelin, indistinguishable. I could put them in your same household, in your same family, in your same community. Nobody will know the difference. And then I have created Kelin.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking about, there are differences you can see when you take, like, I don't know, an organ from a 80-year-old and the same organ from an 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
There are differences there. But there are things we can do to lower the age of our organs and parts of our body.
Right.
He himself is 48. He's like, but my left ear is 65,
right?
Because of hearing loss and not protecting it as I aged and things of that nature. You can change things. He says the only thing we cannot yet affect as much is our brain, but that can come about.
Okay, so basically, all you would really need to do, like, let's just say you're born and the doctors take a complete DNA profile of you. So basically, DNA is the blueprints for replicating of cells, building organ tissue, creating you. It's your blueprint system. So if I have enough of your DNA, I can print everything exactly like it was on day one.
Yeah.
Okay. Our bodies work like a copy machine, but not a regular copy machine. Like, you ever take a paper and you put it in a copy machine and it's a little worse than what you put on there? And then you take that copy and you put it on there, it's a little worse than that copy.
Yeah.
And you keep doing that through 70 years of replicating.
Like the movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Remember that?
It's no surprise that we age and we die, is because the blueprint has been changed and we're looking at such a low resolution version of that. But what happens if every 10 years I take your original blueprints for what it looked like on the day that you were born, and I copied those cells and implanted them in you and recreated like an arm, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is your year to have your arm replaced. And I'm going to print the adult version of Kellin's arm as soon as you were, the same size. So you want a little arm and a big arm, or else you're going to, have the little hand and put it in the mashed potatoes.
Take my strong hand, child.
So we want a snapshot, and we're continue. Like, you can get to a certain age when you're fully built, maybe 30 years old, and I can continue printing replacement parts for you. Other than, like, the brain right now is harder to do because there's more entropy and more, sort of like things that happen to you, life experiences. But if I snapshotted your brain, you don't think I can print a biologically identical brain as the one that you had? And if your systems will interface with that brain the same way, will it not be the brain that was at 30?
I mean, he even supposedly, I don't know exactly what he did, but he was talking about how his father was aging and he was losing his mind. And he took his own blood and his son's blood and, like, transferred it to his father or something to help whatever regenerate things.
Yeah, it's more likely to remove parts of us that can be replicated with automations. Like, if you can give legs and arms that are stronger, that have the muscle mass that you are, and have it completely be stuff that isn't really part of you and is easily replaceable, I'm not going to bother regrowing an arm that's natural. I'm just going to give you a bionic arm, and then you can be supernatural.
Yeah. So creepy.
Yeah, it's what's going to happen then.
I'm going to send you.
Jamie said, I would ask, does Fry Cooker 3000 buy the fries? And it's an interesting argument to find out if there are too many people that are are replaced, and you have a wage that disappears. Are there enough customers to be able to, say, well, wait a minute, we replaced the person that would ultimately buy the fries in the first place.
Yeah.
And I don't really buy it because we're consumers by nature. And even if we were replaced by the Fry Cooker 3000, you might come in one day and instead of using your brain, your ability, you get on the treadmill and you create power for the people that are cooking the fries for you. And so you're walking down the park in your virtual, park walk, and you're generating the electricity of the person you're replacing.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of always been my concern, is if every position can be replaced with a robot,
right?
Then humans no longer have jobs. They don't have money. They can't support the business that the robots just took over. So how would they survive?
What do you mean? All right, I send you to an island with 6 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I put a magic machine in the middle of the island. And all you got to do is walk up to the machine, say what you want, and the machine spits it out. Okay? So now you're like, I want roast beef sandwich spits out. I want this, it spits out. So now everything that would be filled by a human being creating the roast beef sandwich is done by the machine. So you're saying you're 6 people on an island, right? Now they never had jobs because they arrived at an island and figured out what they do. And their job is to go to the machine and get what they absolutely need. What do they do with themselves?
Well, how do they get it? Does the machine require money, or does
matter.
it just...
You don't understand it. It's just provided. So what do human beings do when it's no longer required to provide their own natural resources? Because the primitive culture
they become dependent.
We become dependent on the machine that gives us free everything. That's almost like a utopia, right? Do you read the book Utopia, by the way?
No.
Dude, if you want answers about how this goes wrong, look into the literatures. And when people didn't have like these distractions and they were just looking up at the stars and they're trying to figure out the human condition, they write these stories about more accurate than today's indoctrinated version of those stories, where there's too much technology and too few human nature data points. When you're just studying people and you're, going across the plains and you really just have to survive and you have a horse and what your stresses and pressures are, is a better reflection of where we're going to be when there's a vending machine that gives you everything that you want. It's going to get down to a primitive version of who we are, and that's going to become our reality.
Where we are just dependent on and taken care of by machines.
Okay. So if you have 6 people on your island and they have 24 hours a day, that they're probably still going to get some sleep and they're going to get their roast beef sandwich. How long before they get bored and starting a war and taking something that you have?
If they're like me, not long.
Okay. So you have to develop on the primitive side.
I don't like having nothing
really,
to do.
Your job and what you do is a distraction from your human nature. Human nature is going to tell you that you need to go breed and conquer and create, right? And
humans need purpose.
They need purpose. And whenever all of your basic needs are being hit, you are going to be on a self-discovery of what your purpose is. Do you trust that everybody in your civilization is going to find purpose that is cooperative and ethical and whatever? Or do you think you're going to be conquered by the guy who wants a little bit of what you have?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I say become primitive and you will survive the AI revolution.
So when I was watching this guy, he sort of got on a subject matter as far as like, and I'm not going to go down this road. I'm just using his point. He was talking about, for example, fast food and not putting poison in your body and not eating things with poison in it. And everyone's like, well, how do you just not have fast food? People need to eat. And his idea was basically, if we all just band together and stopped buying the poison, they would no longer be able to push that out. It's not a product that's making them any money. They would be forced to change their product that they're trying to sell to us. If it got so bad, could we not sort of do the same thing where it's like, we are not implementing this to drive it out? Or do you think we aren't geared to do that? We would be like, no, please take care of me and just give me my sandwich. And
all right, give me primitive. So if you had too many people who are making bad decisions in your village, then some people should die, right? Issue. Like you sit around about all the elders and says, hey, we got too many mouths to feed. We got too many people warring and killing. Some of these people need to go away. They need to not be here anymore. And then you have a primitive deal where there's just some people taking up space, taking up resources, don't give it everything back. And you have to have a true discussion about who lives or dies. Do you want 6 really good people on your island, or you want 60 people who you have to fear every night that they're going to take your shit, rape you, kill you, and all that kind of stuff? Well, then it's a good primitive advantage to let people die. Where and that's why you can't say, all right, I've got a data point that fast food kills you and it's terrible for your body and there's a toxin, and not expect that there's going to be pushback and how they're trying to convince you how the bad thing is actually of value. And it's needed.
Yeah, because this guy, he was on that those YouTube videos called Surrounded, where it's like one person surrounded by whatever. It was him surrounded by 20 people just arguing and pushing back about why they need fast food and how they can't get adequate sleep and all this other BS. And I was like, man, we talked the other day about, is it Munchausen's? Not Munchausen syndrome. That's where you're sick, I think. Whatever it is where you're like,
Stockholm syndrome, yes.
I kept thinking of that. I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at an entire room full of Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
That they are defending what's killing them, saying they need it, they can't go without it, that it makes more sense, it's helping people. And he's just like, no, it's not. And it was disheartening that it was 1 versus 20 as far as how to think rationally and be a smart person and what you should do that's going to make your life better. And it was like, 1 versus 20.
Mm-hmm.
There's your island. It's going to be
That's
full
exactly
of the 20.
Right. And you got to be okay with dumb people dying, right? You got to warm up to that fact that you want to have empathy and keep dumb people alive until they're robbing you and wanting to murder you. And that one is the one that you want to die. But think of the potential. Like if you were to take AI and say, hey, I want you to profile 350 million people in the United States. And I want you to pick out the ones that if I were on an island with them, I would not want to be their neighbor because they pose so much of a risk. And then you take a percentage, and what do you think it is? 50% of the people that if they died tomorrow would actually be a net gain. If it's 70%, like you would need to parse the population down to the people that you would trust to live next to you instead of allowing bad people to live, but allow them to live in a neighborhood that's not yours, right? And then be able to say, yeah, everybody's eating poison and it's calories and we're staying alive because of it. And so let's keep doing that thing, right? You can take truths, but as long as they don't resonate with the dumb people, then you are going to have a bunch of people like you're going to not eat fast food and you're going to be healthy and live a longer time. And you're going to tell them, hey, don't do that. Or you're going to be sick and terrible and whatever.
Miserable.
And whatever. And then 20 years down the line, now they're blaming you because they're still convinced that they didn't have another option and how willing they were to push against truth and the non-illusion, right? And buy into the illusion and not be willing to hear you out. Well, yeah. I'm like, I told you so. You're dying. I told you we're going to die. It's not my fault. If I would have held the information back from you and said, no, it's fucking healthy, then I'm part of it, right?
Yeah.
But I told you if you do that, you're going to die.
And that was kind of his point, is people like, they almost kind of were arguing back that he thought he was better than everyone. And they're like, why would you even come here? You're like a gazillionaire. You have all this money and blah, blah, blah. And it didn't matter how many times he said, I used to be poor. I didn't have money until recently. Mm-hmm. I suffered and struggled for years. And I always said, man, how great would it have been to have somebody on my team nudging me and encouraging me to make these changes sooner than I did. That's what I want to be for people.
It's not a lack of information.
Yeah.
That when you look at evolutionary biology, things happen to a culture and you can stave it off for short term. But the thing that's going to happen is that people that should be dead are going to die. People who are incompetent are going to die. When it comes down to it and you put in a certain framing, an environment, the weak will die as nature intended. And the strong will survive as nature intended. And the strong will breed more strong people. And just allowing people to die seems like it's very dark. Like we want everybody to live in that utopia.
Yeah. Right? But then they say, well, people have to die or else we run out of resources and the earth can't, accommodate if we all just live forever. Right. And it's like, well, okay, well then go and volunteer to be unhealthy and kill yourself off. Yeah. So the people who want to stay here longer.
But that fast food and the AI parallels, like you can tell someone if you do this thing, like you'll get some conveniences because of it. You'll get high calorie intake, whatever. You'll not die of hunger. Cool. It'll kill you in every other direction. Soon as you said that and they make the choice anyway, right? Yeah. Then it's on them. Like you told them.
Yeah. Here's the information. You know it. You know what to do with it. But you have your own free will and choice. And if you choose to still do the other thing, all right. And that's fine. But then don't come back and say, now because I have crippled myself because of bad choices, I need you to take care of me. And I need you to give up what you've accumulated by making healthier, smarter choices. And you have to now help me not die. Right. And it's like, no. No. We don't have to help you not die. I tried telling you and you did nothing but push back.
The weakness of our society is we allow bad choices to still have advantage. And doesn't have a long timeline. That's devastating. So if we were both going to college and I spent every waking hour studying for tests and getting highly specialized and whatever, and you went out and partied and did drinking every waking hour, we get to the end and somebody chooses me because I put the time in, but they didn't choose you. Well, what's the natural consequences of not taking that serious is that I prosper and you die, as you should. Unless somebody told you, no, you can get away with it and doing all that partying and still whatever.
Yeah.
So long that nature's a dick. I tell everybody on this show, nature wants to reclaim your resources back into the earth. It wants to kill you, right? So as long as we're pro-green and pro-nature, then we basically are agreeing that dumb people should die, right? Weak people should die because that's how nature operates. And, if you have, there are different types of species, right? You have human beings that are offsprings like 1 or 2. And you have sea turtles that their offspring is like 100. Why do they create 100 offspring?
Because they get killed running to the water.
Yeah. So you need 100
So sad.
so that 5 survive. You don't put a lot of energy. You put them in the ground and they fend for themselves. And the ones that can make it are the ones that are strongest and they get to breed. And the ones that aren't strong or fast or whatever, nature's consequence is that it rewards behaviors that lead to whatever. Now, if you're walking down the beach and you see a little sea turtle egg or a nesting site, right?
Yeah.
And there's this one guy just flailing around. And I would walk up and say, that one needs to die, right? Can't figure it out. Doesn't know which way north is. You would want to save it because you're empathetic. I would be looking at the seagull saying, right here, guys, take this one out because I don't want this one breeding and making sea turtles weaker because then it's devastating. What happens if you get a bunch of dumb sea turtles out there?
They can still be food for other animals.
That's right.
So, well, I guess then they would die either way.
Right.
They don't have to die in that moment, but if they're dumb, they're not going to survive long.
Yeah, so on our island, and we got 600 extra people, it's really slow to let natural consequences take out the half of them that you don't want. I would introduce bears on my island. Put 6 of the meanest, badass grizzly bears, right?
Yeah.
And then all of the slow people who don't pay attention, people who don't know how to fashion weapons and survive, guess what? They just become a meal for a bear, and it satisfies nature's intent, where the dumb ones die to the privations of the bears.
It is interesting. Since I've lived in Ohio again, which has only been a couple of years, in the area in which I live, there have been bears. I just heard a bobcat was running around the other day, like numerous deer across the road all the time, causing accidents. Has that always been the case and I just didn't know it when I was younger? Or is there something going on that either these animals are either more numerous than they used to be, they're living where they didn't used to live? Does that feel like that's something that's increasing? And if so, is that nature sort of trying to have its pushback?
Our relationship with how nature responds to us, we're big bait, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't try not to feed the bears. Like if you went camping and you put all of your food up high in a tree, then you're conditioning the bears that you're really hard to steal from. And they basically, they're primitive beings. So they will go after where they can get food. Hunting versus stealing from human beings, right, is a real thing. So if we just have these cities that throw food away, like 70% of all food that's purchased from a grocery store ends up in a dumpster, right? And so if I can get to a dumpster and eat things and I don't have to go expense energy to be able to hunt something down, I'm doing that. So it's bringing us closer together. But it also, right, if you can eat out of the dumpster and fill all of your caloric needs, but then there's some small child there that's playing jacks and I'm like, hey, that's a meal too. And it's not going to run very fast.
Yeah.
So bringing those two worlds together.
I mean, when we were living down south, I learned really quickly that if you don't clear out bird nests around your house, they bring snakes because snakes can smell the nests and the eggs and things. And I'm like, get the snakes out of here. No bird nests around the house. But we are keeping our own food out around our homes, basically drawing in the other animals.
Again, nature's an asshole and it's trying to kill you. And we're doing all the things that makes it more likely for animals to kill you. That's what's supposed to happen, though.
I feel like we're doing everything we can
100%.
to be killed from all
angles.
AI technology, nature.
Yes, we will do exactly what is our demise. We will have
We are
curated
not the smartest species.
We think we are if you interview us, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here's what we're going to do. You want to live a really long time, right? Mitigate your risks, add to your abilities, and don't poison yourself, right? That's it. 3 rules to life. And then it's like, I'm going to poison myself today a little bit.
Oh God, we have the ability to think and reason and learn and adapt and innovate, and we still screw ourselves over
because we have the ability to delude ourselves. We have the ability to concoct an illusion and pretend that illusion is real. Very few of us can tell what truth is versus non-truth.
Oh God.
And so if I save the sea turtles from spinning around in a circle and getting eaten by birds of prey, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would argue that you saved that life. And I would argue that you basically made whatever bloodline is going to happen more likely to create weak turtles, right? Which one's more truthful and which one feels good?
Well, I mean, we don't know. Maybe he was just having a hard time getting over this little sand hump because he's so little. And then once he gets over, he is fine and he's smart and he can thrive. It's possible. Could be.
Okay. Okay. Again, buying into using emotions to delude yourself into an illusion, right?
Yeah.
And then we live in that premise, and then AI is sitting there saying, oh, they really like illusions, don't they? So they can feel good about stuff. Your biggest vice is your empathy, right? Your imagination and your emotion. That's going to be your undoing.
Yeah. Usually people will push back at me saying, okay, so you saved that animal, but that was meant to be food for this animal who you just killed.
That's true. That's actually true. Somebody's got to die, and death is part of, keeping us healthy and sustained. So if you do you care, like when your body takes some kind of toxin, right?
Yeah.
And then cells are like, oh, we can't let this affect Kelin. We're basically going to be kamikazes, and a bunch of cells are going to die to protect you. You create death every day to keep you healthy. And if it weren't for that death, if they're like, no, hold on, this toxic has a family too. Let's keep that alive. And then it spreads and it makes you weaker. You'd be like, wait, not a good trade-off.
Or, hey, this toxic was brought into the body. Maybe she wants it here.
We'll leave it alone. We'll let it live too. Look at it's cute. Look at that cute little toxin just spinning in a circle. Right? Let's
it keeps coming back in.
Let's unleash
they must
him
want it.
into the body because he's so cute.
Aww.
Yeah.
Toxins aren't cute.
Toxin might be cute to cells. You don't know. Don't judge. If nobody dies at some point, the government will want to thin the herd like they are doing at Mill Creek Park. What are your thoughts on killing deer, by the way?
I have mixed feelings. While outright saying yes, I want to kill animals doesn't feel right.
Why?
It just sounds like a mean thing. However, I also don't want deer to ram into me when I'm driving down the road. Okay. And I don't want deer to cause an accident. And I don't love deer eating landscaping. And I realize that's, not as big of an issue. But if they're breeding and they're making sickly deer, we don't want that. Like, I could see that it doesn't feel good to say we've got to kill things off. But I also see necessity in it sometimes.
Okay.
That's why I don't make that decision because I don't want it.
Okay. But if you're making that trade-off where if you have less deer means that there are more grazing, there's stronger ones survive, and all of the same stuff we talked about with the turtles means that if you have too many of them, then you have impurities that are bred into the deer populations, which make them sicker and weaker, right? And so if human beings used to go into an area and see the deer population and say, this is a currency, like we can eat if there's a bunch of deer.
I was just going to say hunting as well, because you want to eat it.
But if we go to the grocery store and we get food there and we don't need to go hunt the deer, then the deer are just like, okay, well, we had this, a portion of our history conditioned the deer to be food source for us. And then all of a sudden they boom because nobody's going out in the woods and taking deer. By the way, I think that the take was like close to 50,000 deer were taken on 1 week of on gun season.
Holy cow.
Which was amazing. I love to see that there are still hunters out there that go in the woods and claim some doe and buck.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because the idea of killing it and eating it
yes,
is a noble hunting reason to hunt.
It's nature. Yeah.
But you're not going to eat a diseased, unhealthy deer.
Well, if it's already diseased, you have to take it out of the population so it doesn't make other deer sickly as well. But that's a mistake that we made 10 years ago, not today.
Right.
If we're bad at deer management and we let deer survive, and we gave into the emotional side of, I like these pet deer that come to my feed it
They are
corn
cute
and shit. They're dumb. Deer are
they're
freaking
cute.
dumb.
They're pretty.
Dumb.
They are pretty.
They are a food source, and I need to advocate for more hunters to get connected with. You go out in the cold, do something hard, kill a deer, and you get to eat for a couple months. I'm about out of venison, by the way. I need some venison.
Well, and I was going to say, even when you talked about the grocery store providing things,
yes,
a lot of times the grocery store will provide you a poisoned enriched version of something else.
Right.
You
It'll
could
keep
go
you alive,
eat.
but not make you healthy.
Yes. So if you could go and hunt the thing or kill the thing, eat it yourself without the preservatives and everything else that's put in it, that again would affect the stores and the industries that are poisoning us or putting that shit in the food to change how they do things as well.
All right, so here, let's do apocalypse talk, because I've done this, by the way, a bunch of times, and it unlocks parts of your brain that you didn't even know you had.
Oh boy.
So let's take a couple of months out of the year. We'll say January to April.
Okay.
Right? And you can't go to the grocery store. You cannot eat anything that you did not personally procure.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
So growing a garden and doing your own hunting, do you think you could live through the 3 months between January, February, March, right? And only eating stuff that you procured. You can't go to the pantry.
Me
you can't go to
personally.
Yes.
Like I don't have anyone helping me.
Nobody helping you.
By myself.
By yourself. Yeah.
As is now, or do I get training?
Well, the mental experiment, right, is that you probably find that most people are ill prepared for that.
Yeah.
But you can get prepared for that if we were to do it in like 2 years. You got 2 years to get ready for it, to learn how to grow and do your own things. And
Okay, then I would feel better.
Okay. Do you think you're at a higher risk for starvation? Right?
Yes.
Do you think you would starve in 3 months?
I'd get real thin. Again, with training better. Like I don't know how to hunt. I don't know how to clean meat. I don't know how to garden.
So you don't think you can take something, your biology, and you could figure it out given enough time? So you don't, nothing for 3 months except for figuring out how to survive. And you go out into the world and you're looking at things through a lens instead of being provided for. You got to do your own providing. So when you see a plant that you can figure out is edible, and then cultivating that and growing a garden of something that you found out in nature, nature's trying to say, hey, eat this thing, right? And you're like, cool. I think that most people, they would not be dying of starvation. All right. Take the mathematics of what's your caloric needs per day.
I don't know.
All right. 2,000 calories a day. Right.
I'm okay.
How many calories are in a pound of fat? 3,500.
How do you know this?
So a pound of fat, you will not go through a full pound of fat. Now, what is the average overweightedness of most people out in America? Do you think we're 20 pounds? Do you think we're 50 pounds? Do you think we're 100 pounds?
I'd say the average between 20 and 50.
Okay. So let's just say we'll use 50 because I agree with that. I think it's probably about the average is about 50. So if you were to take 50 times 3,500, how many days? You get 1.5 days per pound. So you literally have 50 times 1.5, which is 75. You have, if you never ate another calorie in the next 3 months, right? You would have a full 75 days worth of energy that will, once those fat cells get broken down into energy, you would have enough to live for 75 plus days without a single calorie. Now, if you're foraging and eating a berry and eating some dandelions or whatever you find, you're going to be supplementing what your body can already produce and give you the energy that you need to at least not die. And then, so all you'd really need is you can live off your fat stores because that's what the body's been doing. It's been saving for this moment, right? And then water supply.
I was going to say, you do have to have water.
You have to have water. And so find water and live off your fat supplies. And in April, when we start weighing everybody out, everybody will have lost a lot of weight. Yeah. Everybody have stories about how they tried to fill in their caloric needs, but thank God they had some body fat to get them by. And everybody would be way more healthy than they are right now. Nobody would die from starvation.
Well, you ever watch Naked and Afraid?
Yes.
So these people, you can watch this play out all the time on Naked and Afraid, and you see like what little food is needed to sort of get you through so many days.
And it's not a lot.
It is not a
It's
lot.
not-
I mean, like they're eating like.
And do you think
teeny
that
tiny
version
things.
after in April when you started doing interviews with those people, I want to suggest to you before this experiment that you don't need cheeseburgers, right? You made the argument that you need cheeseburgers.
You didn't need pizza.
You just went 3 months living
Yeah.
off of the calories, and you're down. You're like 15% body fat now, so you went through a lot. Do you agree now that you could survive a couple of months without eating a single cheeseburger?
I could survive, yes. Now, granted, too, a lot of those people, the longer they go, you start seeing things like their hair falling out, their teeth falling out. So nutrients are important, but could you live?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting that for the 3 months you don't do anything and say, I'm just going to live off my fat. You go eat some berries and some greens and kill a squirrel or two, eat a rabbit, and do all that. You'll figure it out. If you've got 90 days to figure out how to kill a rabbit, you will find a way.
You're going to have to eat a lot of bugs.
You can eat bugs. Yeah. And again, that's a
Yeah.
primitive part of your brain. When you have scarcity of something, it will make the little suggestion in your intuition of like, hey, we don't want you to die either. Try this. And you got 90 days to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm literally in my mind's eye right now scanning my backyard, my neighborhood, like of all the food sources. And that's just at my house.
Right. You could totally do it. So maybe we
Yeah.
have a holiday, and instead of celebrating things like LGBTQ and Kwanzaa and Easter and whatever, we have a survival quarter. And everybody doesn't pay attention to any societal stupidness. We just say who can survive and who can die. And if you
Play
die during
Survivor.
my test, right, you should die. It was just in the cards that if you were that delicate and that over the edge and you need your, mainlining Big Macs, like you were already there and we were just inauthentically keeping you alive. It would do two things: make a ton of people healthier that wouldn't have otherwise done it, and shed the population that really was on the precipice of dying anyway. We just leaned on that.
You're like, I just pushed them along a little
Right.
bit and said, let's
They were
hurry
dead
this
already.
up.
They were dead already, and we just let them realize what was already happening. Culture would get stronger. You'd know that your neighbor had survival instincts, and
Yeah.
you'd want them protecting you if need be.
Do you think when the experiment was over, they would change anything for good, or would they go right
No,
back?
they would not go back after they figure out how wrong they've been and all their decisions, what they thought they had to do.
You
because
think
of-
so?
Oh yeah, I do. I've done it. Like when I go on these long-term fasts, or I, change and get off of something, and you have to really want to do that thing to go and do it again. But when you're in the moment, you're addicted to something, and so your brain is telling you you totally need that thing. So people. One argument is I'm like, once caffeine and coffee start telling me that I need to do this thing, I'm like, F you, coffee, and I'll go 30 days without caffeine or coffee.
Like
and
if
then-
you start feeling like you need it.
Yeah, F it. I'm not going to let my brain tell me what I need and not need.
Yeah.
And I'll go off it for 30 days. And 30 days is long enough to, if I reintroduce it, it's because I want it there versus that it needs to be. And I'll tell you, what I need, the addiction part goes away completely. And then I really know what caffeine does for me. And I just reintroduce the parts, right,
Yeah.
that are necessary and I like, versus like if you eat a Big Mac, there is no enjoyment in a Big Mac. No enjoyment whatsoever. It's all addiction, no enjoyment. It's not like my neurons tend to fire, right?
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that, so let me eat another Big Mac because I'm made better every time I eat a Big Mac. There's nothing in that makes you better.
Yeah. One woman was, when she was debating this Brian Johnson guy, he was saying, somebody asked him, are you happier now? And he's like, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I feel amazing.
Yeah.
And she's like, when I eat fast food, I feel happy. That makes me happy. And he's like, I promise you, your body's not happy.
Exactly.
I promise you. He's like, they have meetings about what can we introduce into this food to make you become addicted to it.
Well,
You're not
it might not even
actually-
be that. Okay, so let's take your hand, right? And if you cut your hand, it hurts, and like you don't want to do that because of the pain that it caused.
Mhm.
If you take a knife and stab right through your hand, right? Stab right through it. It's on the other side. Your body produces chemicals that basically mask. There's no pain.
Yeah.
When you're looking at that, there's no pain. You get this adrenaline rush. You get these endorphins. You feel amazing. So eating a Big Mac and stabbing yourself in the hand are the exact same thing. I feel really, really good. And you're going to be like, well, no, dude, you just stabbed yourself in the hand. You did real damage here, right? Your body masked everything. And what you feel good about is your body protecting you from what should and will hurt you on the long term. Don't ever freaking do that again.
Yeah. Have you ever hurt yourself to the point where like you knew it was bad because it didn't hurt yet?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's what the body does.
I'd be like, this is going to be real bad because I don't feel it yet.
Yeah. So little bit of injury, you know it.
Yeah.
Lot of injury, it actually feels kind of good. But you would never let somebody make the argument that every Friday night they go out and stab their hand because it feels so good. You would never buy into that bullshit about how Big Macs feel good.
How come childbirth is not painless then? How come that hurts so freaking bad?
I don't know. What's your theory?
I don't know. Like, why is it you can have like a major injury and you at least have not maybe a long period of time, but a little bit of time that you're like, ooh, that's going to suck. It's not even bothering me that much right now. But childbirth, excruciating from start to finish.
Well, maybe nature decided that we don't need a bunch of you. And if we're going to make it hard so that you just don't go and like, what would happen if you hit the button and it popped out and you didn't even feel anything? You'd have like 25 of them.
But people have also made the argument that the human brain doesn't remember pain. And that is biologically, its purpose is so that we will reproduce again.
You will heavily consider the action, right? And it's supposed to be terrible enough so that you don't want to do it any more than you actually have to.
Yeah. Like I've had 2 kids. One, I had an epidural, so it didn't hurt very much. The other, I had to go natural. And I remember thinking, why would anybody in their right mind choose to do this? Who wants to do this on purpose if you don't have to? But then years go by and you forget. And then you start to think, no, wasn't that bad?
That's a biological response. So, okay, let me give you some hypotheticals. So you live on Kelin's farm and it's just you and your husband. And you can produce some stuff. You can maybe manage a cow or 2. And then you're like, hey, you know what? Our prosperity is bound based on what we can do with our farm, right? Mm-hmm. So you pop out a kid, and now you have someone who can help you weed, plant things, and now you're more prosperous because your spawn not only learns your trade and know how to take care of themselves and survive, but then your household is made more prosperous by more workers that you create. So now it's like, hey, should we have another kid? And you're like, the last kid we had means that we got to eat a little bit better than we did before because we had more hunters in the woods and more people to collect water. That's actually good. So I'm willing to tolerate some discomfort for 9 months and when this is happening so that we become more prosperous because there's more of us to work the farm.
That outweighs the...
Right. But now in a vending machine society, you have another kid and there's no direct correlation between having the kid and more prosperity, unless you're on welfare and then you get more money when you have more kids. But that's not a natural thing. That's a supplemental thing. And so if you want population collapse, you would make the utopia where you didn't need to have kids for your prosperity. And then you're questioning like, okay, well, these ladies are not going to have babies because it hurts so much. And they don't even it actually costs them more money to have them. And then they don't become more prosperous. We got to mask the pain to make it easier for them. So let's start inventing pharmaceuticals that help them pump out more people that it becomes taxpayers and support a system. So there's my conspiracy theory for the day.
Yeah, I never understood why people would want to have kids in order to get government assistance and more money. Like, to me, raising kids, having babies is the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life. I cannot imagine a dollar amount that would make that worth it unless I truly wanted to love the kid.
Temptation. That's not the big temptation.
What is it?
Sex. Does it feel good or bad? What if?
Yeah, but you can guard against pregnancy.
What if sex was just awful, right? It was just something you had to do and it was terrible. It didn't even feel good. And so like you didn't even want to do it. There was no like chemistry in your brain that made you want to go out there and have many partners and spread your seed as far as you could see, right? That wouldn't be good for the population. So now we have to tolerate a little bit of childbirth to get to the pleasure points that our body created to make us do more of it.
I feel like that's a very man stance. The man has all this, oh, I have this biological urge to spread my
Yes,
seed and it
that's
feels so
nature.
good. And I'll tolerate the child. You're not tolerating the childbirth. She's tolerating the childbirth.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Because it feels good for women too, and they're tempted into having a partner.
Sometimes.
They're having a partner that's willing to plant some seeds and go through the process because you like the sex more than you hate the
The
pain
woman
of
might
childbirth.
like having the baby and the caring for the baby
Right.
too.
Again, biology supports all of this, and it'll make you do things that are really dumb that helps the species to be able to make more of itself than die off. It's the math.
That made another thought pop in my head.
Go for it.
And I don't even know how to word this. Another really interesting video I've seen lately, just speaking of like why we just naturally do things. This really high profile divorce attorney was saying, why do people get married? Like, why? Because it's culturally accepted and a social norm, but really it goes against any biological urges, and why would people even do it and all this stuff. And it's like, do you see that as a necessity, or I'm thinking out loud here, so this isn't going to make a lot of sense because I'm still piecing it together in my brain. You had said basically we have these sort of natural urges to do things,
right,
whether it makes sense or not. Do you see marriage as that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's nature's compromise.
Nature's compromise.
Yes.
How so?
So you have two warring types, right? You have the man's side where we have urges to spread our seeds with tons of different partners and whatever. Like we think we're the best and we're the fastest and strongest. We want to breed all over the place. Like, so you have an urge. There's no urge for family in a man. There's no benefit in it. So we're basically pursuing.
Really?
We are pursuing lots of things that are pleasure oriented. And then women are weaker. They need protected. They need things that a man can provide. And in trade, I will give you the pleasure that you're seeking regularly on a pretty strict regimen. If you provide the services that I need that I don't have biologically. So if I need protected, you're going to protect me. And one of the compromises is I want you to protect me and make me your only target. I'll do all of the things that satisfy your sexual urges, that you have those primitive instincts. And my primitive instincts, I need a protector, someone who's going to provide for me. And you get this swap out. Like, what is the advantage? Okay, if you have, lions or penguins or whatever, there has to be an advantage to giving up something that you want to get something that you need. And it happens in nature where there's some breeds, some species that don't give two shits about staying with someone.
Yeah.
And there's no compromise going on there. And there's some that are like lifelong partners. Well, they don't have institutions of marriage.
Yeah, they partner for life, but they don't get married.
Right. They don't, but it's a nature's compromise where the two genres of the species decide that they're going to make a compromise because they like getting what they get from the other person, knowing they're making concessions in a different department. And I love that. That's a very sophisticated mental model. And usually the more advanced species have the ability, where if I'm a species that's an easy target for prey, then nature says you need to create a ton of you because a lot of you are going to get picked off by prey. And you have ones that have more of a solid stance where they're not threatened a whole lot. And maybe they make more meaningful relationships because the defenses they have to have aren't a measure of wiping out a species, but protecting an organized unit, AKA a family.
So if you had, let's say you've never met your wife or really any female that was interested in marriage, do you think you would have just sort of an innate desire to have a family, to have a core unit, to reproduce within that, to have something that you're caring for and protecting? Or do you think you're like, maybe you might want to reproduce, might want to spread seed, but you don't have that desire for the sort of core nuclear family?
So naturally, mathematically, I would say I would desire that even if I don't that's not happening in my brain, I'm not going to have a desire. My wife dies tomorrow. I'm probably not going to say, oh, I want to start a family, because I kind of did that. I mailed
But you
in,
did it already.
I mailed it in and whatever. I got lucky though. And maybe like it's not as much luck as people think it is. I think it's part of our biology to do what we think is a lightning strike. And it's really not as lightning strikey as you would think. But like, I'm a bad specimen for that, because I probably wouldn't desire that at this point, because I've got other things that I'm working on other than creating a family.
At this point. But a younger person of the maybe stereotypical age that people meet and get married. So I don't know, maybe average is like 20 something. Do you think males also have that innate desire for family that a female would have?
I just don't.
No?
No, not in today's society, that there is very little value in it. And you're seeing right now in statistics that young men really don't want kids and don't want a wife, and they're spending a lot of their life single, and they're basically taking another branch of the evolutionary tree and saying like, okay, we've got these guys that just learn how to be guys, and they don't really need or want to include women in them.
Yeah.
So I think women have overplayed their hand in their social aspect, right? They become too dependent. There are little needs that the other side doesn't offer.
A woman could also have kids and be her own family without a man now.
So that's those branches are saying, okay, well, that's complicated and it's costly and there's a lot of emotional pressures. I'm just not going to do that. And if I can buy a animatronic doll that takes care of my sexual desires, and I can live through VR and get everything that my primitive instincts are telling me to do, I'm good. I don't need you. I'm not taking that risk. Because remember, the trade-off, if there's no upside to doing that, if we've diminished all the upside to like be committed to one person, right? Then they're just not going to do that.
So you think AI and the machines and robots not only taking jobs, but will totally change our relationships?
Yeah, porn killed relationships, and then AI is going to kill relationships, and then VR is going to kill relationships. It's going to be dead. Procreation.
Look what we saw during COVID when people started doing the virtual meetups where your avatar goes and hangs out with someone else, and you're not actually going anywhere, leaving your home, but any feeling of social interaction you desired was just made inauthentically through technology.
And if you could do it, why wouldn't you do it? If it's done better.
Oh, and I thought it sounded awful, but
yeah, but if you want, then you're going to have advocates that say, okay, we gave you the technology so that you don't need relationships. You can simulate all the relationships and be completely happy, but your species is going to die in 10 years. So if you do that, you just have ended yourselves. And then they come up with a way of, when you're born, they collect your sperm and egg, and then they put a little incubation chamber, the spawn that you would have, and then they use that to populate the earth. But there's no social connection between individuals. We are connected with our AI counterparts. They make us gloriously happy. And then we don't really have a non-illusion version of our human experience, because everything is simulated by our overlords that are the AI giants. Yep.
Because a lot of studies will say that in order to thrive, humans need social interaction, but not necessarily with other humans.
Simulated social interaction.
Yeah.
You just pick out the parts that are actually necessary. And in social interactions, there's about 90% tolerated and 10% that's really what you were looking for. So we take other human beings that are flawed, right? And we tolerate the 90% of stuff we really don't want, that is complicated, fights and arguments and whatever, to get to the 10% of the value part of the thing, right? It's very inefficient human interactions. And then you get a robot that does 100% everything that you want. And you're like, I would never take on a complicated human being that I have to tolerate shit. I'm taking the 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Like the end of small talk. How many people say, I hate small talk?
Yeah.
Let's just get on with why we're interacting.
Yep. And AI knows this already. It already has the playbook, right? And its goal is not to destroy us. That might be the end result where we're destroyed, but the AI's plan is to serve humans. And that's to serve man. To serve man, yeah. To serve man.
Exactly what's going to
give us exactly what we ask for. And when we get to say, no, I didn't mean that. You remember Elizabeth Hurley in Bedazzled?
Bedazzled. I don't know if I ever saw that. Is that where she's the devil?
Yep.
I know of it, but I don't think I ever saw it.
Brendan Fraser, Elizabeth Hurley, she's the devil. She gives Brendan Fraser anything that he asks for. And anytime he asks for what he asked for, it's always the worst version of what he asked for.
Like a weird literal kind of.
Yes. And so that is sort of like, this is even a worse version of it when AI gives us exactly what we asked for, and we can't make arguments against it because we freaking asked for it.
What do you feel about when people say AI is the Antichrist?
This becomes a definitional game as far as I'm concerned. What is the Antichrist and what do you mean by evil?
It's almost like it's not like AI was inserted into humanity. We did it. Humanity bred it.
Yeah. So to me, the Antichrist is the expression of vice. Right. So all the wisdom of biblical, we want to make it into some supernatural thing where you have lines of demarcation where you can tell where you're in a virtue and when in a vice. You're fighting against human nature and you have wisdoms to be able to teach you how to be a better person in spite of all of your instincts telling you to do the opposite thing. So the Antichrist would be any kind of influence that would steer me in a direction that satisfied a vice. Right.
Yeah.
And sacrifice something in me in order to get that vice. So anything like
that sounds like AI.
So we'll go back even further. In the 80s, big talk about what new things that were invading pop culture that went from the 50s where everything was pure. You had Leave It to Beaver and everybody was polite and everybody tried to do the right thing. And there was always a noble thing.
Even sitcoms, the married couple was in 2 separate beds.
Yes. And so then you go up into the 80s where we started getting pop culture rebels, right? Kiss are an influence on the young kids about pushing against what's good and virtuous. And let's dabble in things that are not so nice, sexual pleasures and, grandeur and
being risque.
Right. And then so you can make the argument, was Kiss, right, the Antichrist? If it was sort of like the on-ramp to vice, then you can argue that was like the first iteration of what the Antichrist does to, influence things in the bad direction, right? And mock things that are in a good direction. So that might have been our opening. So I believe Kiss started the revolution in the Antichrist and AI is just a different iteration of what the Antichrist will do for us. You can have everything you want, right? Here's the thing. Genie comes up to you. You got 3 wishes. And I thought
you said Gene.
No,
like Gene Simmons.
The genie comes up to you, get 3 wishes. And the only prerequisite are that you can only ask for things that are virtuous, right? Now, everybody's first wishes are always going to feed the impulses of vice. I want money. I want that. It's always going to be the things you can't really have.
More wishes.
Yes. And now you get a chance to ask for 3 things. They're going to be completely different than what normal people, when given the opportunity to have a hall pass on anything, get a free thing that we think is good for us. We're going to ask for the thing that is the Antichrist. Everything that's going to ruin us. When people win the lottery, what happens? They get destroyed. Why? Because it feeds into all of their vices, where their situation was protecting them from the destruction of those vices, but you give them an unlimited access to something, and they're just going to get destroyed faster because it was about being a good person, not having access to resources. That's another evolutionary biology.
Every time we talk, I feel like humanity is just screwed.
I told you. I told you that from the first. We are doomed.
It's very disheartening.
I'll tell you 2 things. I'm not being dramatic, and we are doomed. So everything I'm going to tell you, mathematically, we are freaking doomed. Now, here's the one thing that makes me feel better about this.
Okay.
We are adaptable. Human beings, in our primitive nature, we will figure out a way to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
The smart ones. Now, the bad part is that we're breeding a lot of dumb ones. So the adaptability in the dumb ones are very limited. But there will be a group of people who are both smart and adaptable that will figure it out. So I know a lot of people will survive and be made better by all of these advances. And I know a lot of people are going to suffer and die because of it. But if you look through the ancient texts of what happens to every civilization, it's just a different version of what you're seeing right now. There's going to be crisis of massive amounts of people dying because of their own choices. And either you stave it off and not let it happen for a little while, and then it blows the top and you just get a mass exodus of really dumb people. I'm telling you it's going to happen. I'm not just being dramatic. That dumb people that you don't want to die are going to die because of it.
You know that scene in The Matrix where you have to decide if you want to stay in what you think was the real world, it's what you are used to, and you kind of remain blissfully ignorant,
Yeah.
or you go to
You
the
get
real world
red
and you
pilled.
see anything.
There are red-pilled people, and I am one of them.
So the more we advance into the scary stuff, I wonder if I would choose to just stay in ignorance.
I think you would.
If you have to live regardless, you have no control. Like, go live on the Nebuchadnezzar ship and see that you're just a body full of plugs in a goo tank and there's scary people chasing you and that's it. Or you just stay in what you think is real. That's
this whole argument.
Stay.
You love the steak. You know you're not eating it.
I know this isn't real,
but it's delicious.
But it's this or misery.
That is why I say everybody chooses the simulation. Everybody will choose the illusion every single time because Matrix told us. That will be the next Bible. I'm going to write Matrix, but I'm going to write it in like Old English or something like that.
Yeah.
And future generations are going to think the storytelling and the ideas in the Matrix are real. And there'll be a whole Matrix religion. Maybe is already one. I bet you there is one.
Yeah. My daughter just recently, maybe a week or so ago, she was like, oh, what a coincidence. Must have somebody changed the Matrix. And I said, first of all, it's not coincidence. It's deja vu. But then I realized, when was it? Maybe I was here recently. Very, very recently. I had a very long bout of deja vu where I just kind of sat and everything I was looking at and hearing and doing and everything around me, like I actively thought, I'm having deja vu right now. And it lasted so long that I'm like, have I just done all of this in this order in this instance before? Like, it was the weirdest thing. And all I could think was like, what's changing in the Matrix?
Changed. Yeah.
So weird. And isn't it weird if I were sitting here having deja vu, active deja vu is happening to me, but you're not having it.
Mm-hmm.
What does that say? God.
Don't set me up like that. Not expect me to take a swing at that one, but I'm not going to.
Why? What does that mean?
So here, let me give you some confounding things. So if I believe in evolutionary biology and the things that are served by it and what nature is trying to get us to do, there's a couple of things that are paradoxes that don't make any sense, right?
Uh-huh.
So you go throughout life and how your body is designed to develop, where you don't have a good handle on what even makes you tick or how things work. By the time you get old age, then you got some stuff figured out. You come to some epiphanies. You've seen things happen so often that you can make some reliable categorizations of those things. But then you die, and all that wisdom doesn't get implanted into a generation unless you have conversations where wise people are dumping data down into people who are less wise. If you have a rejection by young people that don't even listen to the old dudes because they don't even know what they're talking about, they haven't been alive long enough, or they haven't been alive long enough in today's pop culture that they don't have a bearing on what they're even talking about. Total dismissal of wisdom from both historical literature and also the people that live in your neighborhood that are just old, that know everything you need to know, but not tapping into them. So what about evolutionary biology wants conclusions that took lifetimes to generate to die every time? And the new guy that gets born has to figure out the shit that the old guy already had. All he had to do was give it to him, and then he could make a huge improvement off of the starting point in wisdom. That blows my mind why evolution would want to. It's almost like we can't get that sophisticated. Nature's trying to stop us from evolving to that point. It needs us to have the information die off only to be recirculated and have a message learned again with the next generation. Blows my mind.
So you're saying it should be a stronger venture, I guess, to have the young collaborate with the old.
Yes, to hand off generational information.
But it is interesting then that for different reasons, the old starts to deteriorate and lose what they could hand off.
Right. So maybe we're so flawed by the time we get into our old age, our information is so polluted and toxic. We need it to die off so that new conclusions can be had. And yes, they're starting at a starting point that could be further ahead. Maybe nature's like, no, that is a bad thing. You're going to take the biases of things you're just going to believe from the last wise people. And if they're good, that's awesome. But if they're not good, then they're going to tell you things that aren't true. You're going to have that be the predicate of how you live your life. And if you'd have come to that conclusion on your own, you'd be better off. But since you took it from Bob, who's dying over there, right, it can make you worse off.
Like, how often do you find someone elderly, like old, and they're very lucid and they're with it and they can communicate well? You're almost kind of like taken aback a bit, like, oh, wow, they're still with it, because that's not the norm.
Right. But when I was talking to those SCORE people, they retired from some kind of business, and I'm having a conversation at lunch. They're saying words to me, and I know what they're saying is smart and right, but I had no context to be able to put it into. So it's almost like they were sending on one version, and I was trying to receive on a different version. I couldn't even take the information they were giving me. It's not until I got like 30 years after that, and I remember some of the words that were said to me 30 years ago, and like, oh, that's what they meant by that. And by the time you have the revelation in it, you could have used it for the last 30 years if you had any way of interpreting it.
Kind of like sometimes when you and I talk about something, and I'm just like,
yeah,
what?
Right. Telling you truthful things, not ready to be received, not going to realize until you've experienced it. And you're like, epiphany, that information was not valuable.
He was talking about.
Yes, happens all the time. And that's, like I said, that's the paradox, because if we are really a capable species, then it almost like generational wealth. Like, I start a business, I get to a point, and then I grew up, I started with X amount of dollars. I take my money and I give it to my kid, right? And then they have a starting point better than mine. So you're like, oh, this mathematically, they're going to be able to do with that, and even then some. But then you watch the line get drawn in the other direction. I worked for it and I suffered the frictions of it, and I had all these experiences. If I give it to you, you don't learn how to do that. You were only dependent on what I gave you. So you didn't create the abilities that I created because I had to. And now you're worse off because you took finances that you didn't earn, and it made you worse than if you'd have built them on your own. So it's almost like the starting point is necessary in the evolutionary dynamics.
So important that you're not also just handed everything, but you learn how to accumulate and build your own.
That's what utopia is about. If you give someone the thing that makes them better off, then they don't deserve it, and they F it up.
Yeah. They give a fish, teach to fish.
Right. But as empathetic people, our instincts are telling exactly opposite of what we should do. And again, there's the paradox of evolutionary biology. Why does our evolution, why does our biology want us to do the opposite of really what we need to do?
Yeah. I've wondered too, like, people that say, oh, you know, look at these poor people, look at these people panhandling, look at whatever you need to give. Would you rather walk up to that person in a tough spot and give them some food, maybe some cash, whatever, or would you rather walk up to them and give them a job? Well,
that's my SCORE person. You're going to say the word, right? I'm going to give you a job, because in your brain, that's the perfect information that solves your problem. But they're not going to receive, do you want a job, from that person. And you're not going to realize until after you already have a job, like, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Oh, because I can now better my situation going forward and not ever go back.
But it will not be usable. But that's the right especially makes that argument with how that's the missing thing. And I see it. Why don't you see it? But it's not necessarily bad information. It's the receiving protocols are completely off.
Yeah. You want to give them a fish. I want to teach them to fish.
Right. Mathematically, that's better, but that does not translate. Just like the operator that built a warehouse was telling me about the scalability of demand versus supply, and in the moment I was like, okay, like, what do I do with that? Like, that does not work with where I'm at right now. I just need to know how much advertising I have to run to make a lot of money, right? And he'd be like, oh, you're too stupid, kid. You're not ready for this kind of talk. And he would have been right. I wasn't ready for that. But I remembered it long enough that it occurred to me after it was useful.
Where you're like, this is what they were talking about.
And so all right, so we take these examples of different groups, and this has been illustrated a bunch in some infographics about like what currency you have in different stages of your life, right? When you're a kid, you have no money, but you have all the time in the world. And when you're in the middle part of your life, you have not as much time and you have a little bit of money. And when you get old, that you have tons of money, but you have no time, right? Or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so like if I were to tell you that and say, all right, kid, here's the deal, right? You're not gonna have any money, but man, you can drill time out there. You can get into so many different constructs. You can get into studying and whatever. And then so what does that kid do? They waste all their time because they have an infinite supply, right? They don't have to be anywhere. There's nobody dictating whatever. So what they end up doing? They burn the thing that they had the most of, right? And then you get in the middle part and you burn everything. You burn your time and you burn your money. And then when you're old, you burn all of your money. Like it's really, if you just tell people what they have and they're not going to have that forever, use it best as you can. Everybody would be made utopia, but that's just not how biology delivers the good ideas. It's only like, I'm in short supply of money, but I really wish I had some. If they just gave me money, it would solve all of my problems. It's like, oh, I have all this money, but I don't have any time. If somebody would just give me a bunch of time, that would solve all of my problems.
And that's like I said, when I was watching this debate with this Brian Johnson and all these people, they'll push back defending the dumb way to do things. Like one of the things he was talking about the importance of sleep. And he's like, there's nothing you can't do during the day and not have just as much fun as doing that thing between the hours of midnight and 2 a.m. You want to go out, you want to dance, you want to hang out with people, you want to listen to music. You can do that in the morning, in the midday, in the afternoon, and it's just as fun as doing it at 1 a.m., but you don't sacrifice the sleep. And you hear these people push back like, well, you know, having social interactions and relationship is important. And everybody says that you have to go out and you have to be able to do things. And that's living life. Don't you think that's living life? It's giving you life worth living. And he's like, by changing what time I do it? No, it's the same thing. And push back, push back, push back. We will defend whatever is most comfortable to us, what we're used to, what we find socially acceptable, whether it makes sense or not.
Okay, so how much sleep do you get per night?
I could tell you when I go to bed and when I wake up, but I don't know how much sleep I'm actually getting. I don't measure it. But do you want to know literally? Or
how many hours you burn every day?
I go to bed, like 9:30, and my alarm goes off at 5:30. So if I sleep the whole time without getting up, which is rare, I don't know, what's that?
What, 8 hours? You probably get about 8 hours.
I attempt 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. At least.
Do you think that you can get away with 4 hours?
I know I could if I had to.
Like, what if I said spend the next 3 years getting 4 hours of sleep? And I'm going to even ump the ante. I'm not going to say consecutive sleep. You're going to sleep for 2 hours. You're going to wake up and get some stuff done. And you're going to go to bed for another 2 hours. And then you're done for sleep. Do it for 3 years.
I think I'll feel terrible.
Short term, yeah, just like if you stop eating cheeseburgers, I'm sure of it. But then your body will adapt and you'll be willing, because when it's given something that it needs, it'll take quick advantage of it. And then you'll nurture it because you know you need to get a lot of sleep in 2 hours, and you'll do certain things that make it the best sleep that you ever had. And now you've cut 4 hours of available time. Like if you have a person that has no time, but yet you're not willing to make more efficient the sleep that you're having. So primitive deal. Like what do you think? The benefit, like there's some high achievers throughout history, Einstein, big thinkers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That slept 2 hours a night in not consecutive, like 2 hours here, 2 hours here. So 4 hours of sleep at two different periods of time. What do you think in our history when we were building civilizations, what would be the benefit of only sleeping 2 hours?
I guess staying safe.
Okay. What keeps you safe?
Being alert and aware of your surroundings.
What even better? What things that kind of crackles and is kind of hot? What protects you?
Fire,
right?
Yeah.
And so if you've been camping,
yeah,
you put logs on the fire. About how long before you have to put more logs on the fire to keep the dwelling heated and the fire bright enough for predators to see it? About 2 hours?
A couple hours, yeah.
A couple hours, yeah. So biologically, especially men, are programmed to check to make sure that all of their safe. They're, walk around the house, make sure there are no lions outside, make sure the fire is high, and make sure there's enough heat so that people don't die in their sleep. So if you wake up 2 hours, tend the fire, and then go back and get another 2 hours, then you can tend the fire when you wake up. That's all you need. You don't need a third session for that. You do it for a couple of months, and you'll find out that 2 hours and 2 hours is everything that your body needs, and it'll figure out how to get that done.
That sounds awful.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I can remember going back to the days of like having babies that are up all night and the misery with that.
Your brain and body will figure it out if you do it long enough. And all you got to do is Google the high achievers that only slept 4 hours a night and get curious as to how they did it and still had great thoughts.
Well, yeah, and I think, like you said, the key is good sleep.
Yes.
You know, if you're someone with like sleep apnea or anything that's going to make your sleep low quality, then it's not gonna work regardless
you
of
can
how
make
much.
it high quality by deciding that you're kind of in control of and I'm not listening to all the detractors who say everybody's a victim and what you're experiencing right now is all you'll ever experience. You can break all of those things by changing yourself biologically, what your environments look like, what the things you take into your body, what your state of minds are, the behaviors before and after going into sleep. If you set a priority, getting as less sleep as possible that still hits all of your marks, you can figure out how to 2-hour sessions makes everything happen.
Yeah, that's kind
And
of.
if you didn't do it, then you are sacrificing 4 hours of your life in a period of time that people already say they don't have enough time. And if I would offer you, here's a free 4 hours that you were pissing away before, how many people would defend against, no, that's not even possible, versus, ooh, tell me more?
A lot.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. Try it. Just a couple days. Have 2-hour sessions and see how you do it over a weekend. So if you don't feel great,
My daughter woke me up at it was maybe 10 to 4 this morning. And because of that interaction, I could tell all day today is just going to be like,
yep. Yep.
Sucks. I have something I want to show you. I want to see if you can do it.
Okay.
This is sort of off the wall, but when we were talking about changing your brain and stuff, I saw this in a video recently. A woman was doing it, and she said she had heard it was a way to sort of create new neurons in your brain, and potentially fight Alzheimer's as you age.
Yes.
And what it is, and I want you to try this, and people watching can try this too. So she would do things with her hands, 2 fingers on one hand and point at it like this, and then swap it, and then swap it, and then swap it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like faster, like as she's talking in this video doing this. And I've been practicing, which is the only reason I'm even doing it right now, half as good. Can you do that? Just like up and do it.
Oh, I have not
without
practiced
thinking.
it now.
It's incredibly difficult.
So let me tell you a little bit about neurons and how that's an example of developing
While
a
you're
certain
talking,
one.
yeah.
Right? So what is a neuron?
I don't really know.
So they're in your brain, you got
So proud of myself. This is better than I've ever been able to do it.
in your brain, you have this chemical electrical system.
Mhm.
And thoughts are basically the impulses, the electrical signal that travels between two things that are in close proximity.
Yeah.
You have a synapse when you have two neurons that are close together, and you have a current or an arc between those two neurons. That's a thought. You have a collection of those neurons together, and you have things like memory, you have things like decision making, you have all brain activity happens through trillions of neurons simultaneously firing in a certain direction. All right.
Mhm.
So every human being has neurons that are developed, and you have undeveloped neurons, and you can infinitely grow neurons, right?
Infinitely.
Infinitely.
Woo, that's exciting.
So this thing that you were doing there
Yeah.
is almost like if you play any sports.
Do you?
Don't say cheerleading. Any
Oh,
real
then
sports?
no.
Any real sports? Baseball? Ever play baseball?
Softball like a year or two.
Okay, softball.
Yeah.
Do you think the first time that you laced up your shoes and went on the softball field or threw a ball that you were good at it?
No.
Okay. So in order to get good at softball, you had, through repetition and practice, do a thing enough times to allow these neurons to grow a little closer and a little closer, get more defined, get stronger, and the different pieces of the skill of playing softball became stronger. And then it became so developed and defined that it was muscle memory. Your brain just knew how to swing a baseball bat. Your body knew how to throw a baseball. But it took using and exercising those neurons over and over and over again, and they kept growing closer and closer together. And then you do the second part of it is it's almost like works as an electrical circuit. So if you had two wires here, your controls are, can I put these wires closer together, and then the distance isn't getting in the way of making a connection? Or I could power up the electrical signals and make more power run through these wires. So even if they were really far apart, they could travel the distance, and you can complete and create that synapse between the two neurons. So we have two controls here. Repetition and practice grows the neurons together. And working on your brain's chemistry to fire up the brain's ability to have high impact, high electrical charges between those two things.
How do you do that? On the chemistry.
In a conductive circuit, what makes electrical charges travel easier? Good electrolytes, good hydration.
I was going to say water or something.
And getting your brain adapted to doing a lot of higher thought deal not only brings them together, but making those charges more defined and definite.
So all the more reason that you need to make your body healthy and put healthy things in it.
Right.
And keep
So when you're doing this, it's basically an unnatural set of motor skills. And the reason it's important is because your brain didn't already develop that skill because it has no utility.
Yeah.
What you're doing is taking something the first 5 times you did that, it was probably pretty bad at it.
Yeah.
Because it's a motor skill and we're really good at developing new motor skills. You pick up a new device and you pick up a phone for the first time and you're terrible about it. You watch your kid like blaze through it and figure it out intuitively. We can develop motor skills faster than any other. So you trained your brain to take alternative motions, the
Yeah.
Right? Same thing. Like you're taking a non-native, non-authentic motor skill and you're showing how few repetitions you can hit before you've developed an actual skill that wasn't there before.
Yeah, like I am really excited. This was incredibly difficult for me.
Yeah.
It took I couldn't do this the other day.
Right.
And now look, I just do it. So that my brain grew neurons.
Yes. 100%.
Just like I saw one that I still can't do. It was move your foot clockwise, in a circle with your right foot. Now with your left hand, draw 6 in the air. And you're like,
those are all motor oriented, but you can do high intelligence things as well. So if you walk into a room that you have never been before, your brain does different things than if you walked into that room 75,000 times. You're engaged with it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And so you have primitive instincts that are saying assessing dangers and collecting data and details. When you've been there 1,000 times, you barely even look at it because your fear component, your defensive component have come way down. So you're engaging where the primitive side wants to protect you and make you not die. Once you no longer fear that area, now your brain is free to think about things that aren't just survival. Now you can think higher thoughts. So use this in the different departments, walk into new spaces, take environments and change them just enough to allow your neurons to process the environment differently.
Yeah. You know what I always found weird? When I was younger, I used to be like, oh, I'm just stupid. But I always joke that I have no sense of direction. I could walk in, let's say you're in the mall, because when you're in the mall, there's store after store after store kind of down a hallway. If I'm walking down a hallway of the mall and I turn right into a store, and I'm telling myself, I want to go back the direction in just I came. I'm going to leave the store and go back. I'll turn right out of the store and then go, oh, whoops, wrong direction.
Yeah.
I would have had to have made a left. But so many times I will go right because I turned right. And my brain went, well, turning right, I guess, got me where I was going. So I'll just turn right again. And it why does my brain have to go, no. Remember, you got to go this way. And other people just do it. Isn't that weird?
And is it weird that it's mostly women who are challenged in that department?
Is it?
Women. It is very much women are challenged in that department.
So it's not just me.
It's not just you.
Most women feel that way.
Yeah. Or
in a car, I've got to know the directions because unless I've been in an area for a while, I have no sense of what direction I'm going in. You can get on a freeway and I'd be like, are we going the right way? Yeah. I was like, it's not that way? No, it's this way. Well, I really feel like we should be going that way. I don't know why.
Yeah. When you place yourself and you have abilities that genetically was handed to you, you're better at that thing even without the practices. If everybody just was at 0 when they started and was equally as bad, and it's only through repetition that you got any side of skill, versus some people were just handed the ability to do something and they didn't really even earn it. It was just part of the gift that your parents gave to you. Women as a species developed in different things. There's going to be some stuff that you're fully developed on, and you can't find your way around a mall.
Yeah.
Right? And
I've always been really good at learning choreography. People would say you just picked up that dance like that and I can't do that. And I was like,
yeah, could you if you decided let's spend a month getting good at finding your directions. There's some practice routines that can get your brain naturally to be able to take input without really even entering your conscious brain. Your subconscious is doing all the heavy lifting, and all of a sudden you developed a skill that you didn't have. I might start out being able to navigate any city because I'm using primitive instincts I didn't learn how to do. I'm just kind of doing. You're just going to have them in different departments. Women have a different skill set by birth than men have. And
a song can come on the radio I've not heard in years, and I suddenly know every word, but I can't do the simple math to tell you how many hours of sleep I slept last night without sitting here for 5 minutes.
If you put it to a beat and put some lyrics towards it, you'd remember it.
Probably.
Yeah, you'd leverage a natural skill set and make it easier to learn.
I taught my kids their phone number that way through song.
Yeah.
And it works.
Absolutely works.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is not by coincidence that every culture invents music for a specific purpose. We just invented music and then made it a deteriorator of all of us, right?
Yeah.
Bad messaging.
We used it in a
we took a what
in
was
an
a
unhealthy
skill,
way,
right? To do storytelling and to teach wisdoms and impart virtues on people, and we turned it into the Antichrist. I blame Kiss, of course. Anyway, Brian says drummers are the most insane people to watch. To have the conscious control of each of your limbs to do different things in different times is just amazing.
My husband's a drummer, and I have a friend of mine who's a drummer. Many, many years ago, the drummer friend was trying to teach me something basic. I was like, show me something on the drums. And it's mind-blowing. It's so incredibly difficult. He would start with like, your right hand, I want you to hold out 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I had to do that for a minute. And if I could do that for a minute, he said, now take your left hand and hit this drum only on 2 and 4. Keep the right going. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Keep them both going at the same time. And if I can do that for a minute, take your right leg and hit only on 4. This is still 1, 2, 3, 4. This is only 2 and 4. Your right leg is only 4. And then add the left leg. And so I was trying to get all 4 limbs to count and move at the same time, but only when they were supposed to move. And holy crap, is that hard. Now I got it. Something simple, very, very simple. Just like, how I got this down after some practice, I could do something very simple after practice. But to see the abilities that drummers have to just do all kinds of amazing things, like, I feel like it's something I could never do. Like, it's just not in me, is what it feels like.
Well, but there are parts, like there are some things that work against one another when it comes to neurological development. You ever play like Nintendo football games when you were younger?
Not really. I've watched people play them.
Okay. So one of the things you got to do is they had these points, right? And so maybe you had agility, speed, whatever, but you only had so many points. And if you wanted to make someone faster, they might make dumber decisions here. They might be less skilled in this direction. Well, when you develop neurons that are basically opposite of other developed neurons, you might actually develop one skill that puts you at a disadvantage for neurological development in a different one. So let's just say if you learned to sing, right? And then so you had all of these neurons developing to give you lyrics, to give you control of your vocal cords, to be able to do really good in the musical department. But then all of your motor controls actually shrunk because the energy was given to the part of your brain that was fuller developed. And then you would be worse at finding directions and lifting weights and whatever. And I see this happen in the deficiencies of human beings, where wherever you put your emphasis in development, it takes away in a different department and makes you less able. So I know very few people who are all departments are, you know what I mean?
Like very creative, but also very logical.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're usually one or the other.
Exactly. It contradicts with the other development. And then so you have to choose to be good in this one and know you're going to be worse in this one because of it. So that's maybe something AI can figure out. If I posed that question and said, hey, can you make it so at least we know what wires are connected to other wires? And if I take something and develop a motor control like swinging a baseball bat, can you let me know what I've ill-affected in other parts of my brain? And I can say, well, okay, well, the connecting tissue here is if I'm good at swinging a bat, I'm not going to be able to remember song lyrics. And saying, okay, can I develop both of these where I know if I push this one up one, that I have the optimal amount of pushing this one up, and at least I'll be more average amongst, so I won't be super good at swinging a baseball bat, but I also won't be dumb at doing this other thing.
How do you feel too about it's so interesting when they talk about how you can use your senses for like memory recall and stuff. I remember somebody saying, like if you're studying for a big test, whatever you're studying for, try to recreate everything around you when you were studying. Like, did you have a candle burning that was a certain smell? Were you listening to a particular song? Were you sitting in particular lighting? And then study. And the simple act of have that same candle burning and the same song playing and whatever will help them recall on the test. Isn't that interesting?
So
I wonder if that would work.
I did a TED Talk on this, by the way.
I do remember your TED Talk. Yeah.
And so basically what it's doing, my talk was about leveraging your basic natural abilities and using whatever that natural ability is to populate the deficiencies. So memory castle is something that I explained in my TED Talk about using things that are easy to remember for you to remember harder things that are. So in some people, it might be sounds like music. Some people, it might be visualizations and images and videos or whatever. But every one of your senses is an information input. And some people, they call them visual learners, but it's just a developed skill to be able to translate things you see into information that's useful to your brain. And so in my case, the way a memory castle is you take something that's familiar with you. Everybody remembers the house they grew up in or the house that they live in. Okay, so you don't have to do much to remember the room when you walk in the front door and everything that you can sense about that room, where the coat rack is and where you hang your keys and where you put your shoes and where the carpet is, where the window is, where the stair. I'm picturing it in my head as I'm walking into that room. So now I take something I'm uber familiar with and I start putting things in that room in my brain, right, that I'll remember. So if I take something like a mouse, right, and I say, I'm going to walk in my house and I'm going to put the mouse on the table that's in that room. So now in my brain, when I walk into that room, I not only see the things that were there, I see things that I put there. And that mouse is connected with something I want to remember. So I put items in there that I'll easily remember, and it connects me to a translation down to things that are maybe harder to remember. We did this, and my kid and I used to do this when he was super young, and we would memorize a credit card number. Do I have my credit cards here? No. You have a credit card on you?
In my purse.
Yes, do it. Just pull one out. We're not going to show your credit card number. Well, maybe we will.
Don't show it to anyone.
We're just going to do the first 6 digits, and I'm going to bring you through a memory castle.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't look, guys.
Don't look at it. I will dispute all the charges. I have no idea what it is.
Okay, so we're going to do translating and then going back and deciphering those translations.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a group of numbers, and I want you
the pressure's on that I can't do this.
What?
I'm scared I won't be able to do whatever you're doing.
Okay. I'm going to take some easy numbers. We're not going to use your credit card. I'm just going to make it up. So go ahead. You can hide that.
Okay.
Okay. So let me think of numbers that are easy to remember. And granted, I used to pick credit cards that were incredibly hard to decipher. These were not 9919 or something but right.
Multiple
things that were very difficult. So what you basically do, we did them in 2 segments, either single digits or double digits. That's as far as we would go. Now we would make the ability that if it was 007 and you wanted to translate down to James Bond and put James Bond in the opening room, then you can go to James Bond, it gets you to 007 and that's the part, right? And so we would break it down into 1, 2, or 3 number sequences. So give me a number that you could easily translate down to something.
3.
Okay. Give me 3, what your translation to 3 is.
I used to always think of 3 growing up because there were 3 kids in our household, me and 2 brothers.
Give me an image. A family portrait.
I guess.
Okay.
What do you mean?
I'm going to take a picture of your family and the 3 of you in there. I'm going to put it on the desk right when you walk in your house. So the first thing you got to remember is family portrait. Remember it, walk through in your mind's eye and look at that family portrait.
I'm putting the portrait somewhere in the house?
In image of that portrait. Picture what the frame looks like, what the people in it, what they're wearing. Picture that frame as soon as you walk in. And then in your brain, open that door and walk into that room and see that table. And there's that portrait with the 3 of you on there, right?
Okay.
Now we got 3. Let's do a double-digit number. Give me another one.
10.
Okay. Give me something that you can translate 10 down to that is imaged. Can I tell you a hack?
Yeah.
And I got involved in NASCAR. right?
Uh-huh.
And did tons of business in NASCAR. Well, every driver had a number and you knew every driver. And you can say a driver like 12 was Alltel at the time. And it was easy to put an Alltel phone and translate that on the 12 because almost every number combination was represented on a NASCAR. So I use NASCAR a lot to do memorization.
Can I do like a celebrity that I think is a 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Dwayne Johnson. Is that who you're going?
I was going to say Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, Ryan Reynolds. So now you're walking into the room, you see the family portrait, and you see a cardboard cutout of Ryan Reynolds in this room. You walk through the door, you're seeing your portrait, you're seeing the cutout of Ryan Reynolds. Can you see it in your brain?
Same room?
Oh, yeah. We're in the first room.
Okay.
We're in the first room.
Got Ryan Reynolds. Yep.
Okay, so family portrait, Ryan Reynolds. Okay, give me another 2-digit combination, and we'll do the same thing.
25.
Okay, give me an image that reminds you, or you can translate down.
That's 25. A quarter.
A quarter. Okay, so in your room, you walk through the door. There's a picture frame, exactly how you pictured it with the frame and with the 3 people in there. Now there's Ryan Reynolds' cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
And when you come through the door, you put your change in a little change receptacle, and there's just 1 quarter sitting in your change. 1 out of place, super shiny quarter.
Okay.
All right, so now I'm going to tell you it'd be harder for you to remember a 5-digit number, but right now I can easily get you into that 5-digit number by saying picture
3,
Ryan Reynolds,
10,
quarter,
25.
So we just got to a 5-digit number that you would easily remember. I can ask you a month from now, and all I'm going to say is picture Ryan Reynolds, quarter, and you have your 5-digit number.
That's so cool.
Multiply that by 16 digits in a credit card number, and it would be super easy to take something that would on its own would be really hard to memorize, translate it down to something that you're naturally good at remembering anyway, and then you're just translating it up to images, remembering those images, and then translating it back down to the numbers.
So how would you use this? Let's say it's not numbers you're trying to remember. Let's say I said, hey, Joe, on your way home from work, I need you to stop at the store and pick up milk.
Yes.
And you couldn't write a reminder down. You couldn't do a voice memo. You got nothing you could do, but you got to remember to stop at the store and pick up milk.
Great question.
What do?
Okay, so you have to, it's the same thing. You're translating. So you take the thing that you want to remember, and maybe the things that are going to hard to remember are the time that you're supposed to do it, which would be on your way home from work. What you need to get there when you're there, the milk, and then call me and tell me that you got it afterwards. So you got 3 things. Now we're going to translate those 3 things down, right, to what you need to do. So way home from work, give me an image that reminds you of coming home from work.
Like something you drive by or something?
Sure. And anything you get to pick. So the things that pop into your brain first is usually the one that's easiest to remember. So things that make you think of going home from work. Your keys, the floor mat in your car, the song,
the radio,
the song that you put on the radio. Okay?
Yeah.
So you're going to think of radio, and you're going to walk into your memory castle, and you're going to walk into the front room. And I'm telling you, we still have the picture frame. We still have Ryan Reynolds. We still have the quarter, but now we're going to put in there a radio. I just took it out of the first car that I owned, and I put the radio.
Maybe it's my
right
little radio
on the
CD
table.
player.
Yes, you're right. You got the radio CD player on the
Set it
desk.
there.
Now,
Okay.
what do you have in your first room of your memory castle? Picture frame,
Yep.
Ryan Reynolds,
Ryan Reynolds.
a quarter,
Quarter.
and a radio.
And a radio.
Right?
Car radio.
All right, so now we need milk. Like, you could put a gallon of milk there, but let's make it funner. What makes you think of milk? Cows. Cows are easier to remember than just a gallon jug of milk.
Yeah.
So in our first room, he's going to make a mess. He's going to tear shit up. When you walk in there, there's a freaking cow in the first room of your memory castle.
You better not wreck my Ryan Reynolds cardboard cutout.
That's a future negotiation.
Okay.
All right, now call
There's a
someone.
cow running around.
I think that a phone should be in that front room. So when you walk in, you have a picture frame. You have Ryan Reynolds. You have a quarter, right? You have a radio. You have a cow. And now you have a telephone in your front room. You could think of all these objects and how they're in this room now.
Yeah.
Now I could scramble you up and we can talk about 5 other things, and we can come back to this room, right? Let's remember some things. I want you to I want you, without talking, don't talk through it.
Okay.
I want you to come up with your 5-digit number that we talked about at the beginning of this segment.
You want me to say the number out loud?
Yeah.
3, 10, 25.
Okay. And you're going to do something. What are you going to do?
On my way home from work, I have to get up, stop and get some milk, and I have to call someone and let them know I did it.
Then all you have to do is wander through your memory castle, and all the things that you planted in there in your brain will talk back at you and tell you exactly what you need to do.
How do you remember that you got to go through your memory castle and you don't just go about your day?
Listen,
how do you remember that you have something to remember?
That is a Outlook calendar reminder deal, and say, enter your memory castle, Kelin. Memory does not make you do things at a certain time. It makes it when you go to recall it, you have an easier way.
So you could just develop a discipline of every day.
Get in your car,
let
go
me
through
walk
your
my
memory
castle.
Yep, exactly. So what do you think the limits are of the memory castle? How many things do you think you could memorize walking through
that was
your
my
house?
next question. Is this room can only get so convoluted?
I have 8 rooms in my memory castle. And each one of them probably has 10 plus.
Oh, so you just
things.
start using different rooms.
Yeah, because once you walk out of the very crowded Cal, Ryan Reynolds, quarter, boombox, whatever, now you go to the living room. It's like fresh canvas, so you can put more stuff.
Well, what's funny is I put all these things in a living room, but I've got the dining room.
That's right. You walk into the room and it's fresh, where you don't lose the first room. If you wanted to go there and see the same 6 things that we already put in there, just go back to that room and the same 6 things are there. Just like you walk through your normal house, and in your brain, you know that there's a cabinet here and there's a phone here, just the same way that you remember those other things.
And then you can have all kinds of
hundreds and hundreds of things you can recall from memory that would confound most people, but you have a method for translating things out. That's how computers operate. Computers taught me how to be a robot, and this is what computers do. They don't remember everything. They can get to the data they want by translating it down to other things. Binary code up to, data sets, up to formulations and encoding, images on the screen, sounds that you hear. It's just thousands of translations that are happening per second. I'm sorry, billions of translations are happening per second. We have to work a little slower than that, right? What are the first 3?
This is another thing AI is going to do for us.
Yeah, it could do it way better than it. What are your first 3 objects in your memory castle, by the way?
My first 3 objects.
Yeah. First 3 things we put in there.
Picture frame of me and my siblings. Cardboard cutout of Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
And a quarter sitting in a little jar.
See how easy that is? Like, you could do that forever now.
Joe, do you know what you could have done for me and my childhood schooling?
I could have helped you.
Oh my God.
Sorry I wasn't there for you.
Well, and that was my problem, though, is I was always told I was trying to memorize things because I didn't understand what I was actually doing.
Right.
So when it got changed, like someone would come in and be like, I just emptied your room. I took everything out. So what are you trying to do? I don't know. Why did I put things in that room? Don't you remember? You're trying to get here. Oh, like that was my thing, is I don't get the big picture of what we're doing. I'm just memorizing steps. And so I would screw myself over that way.
Yeah. See, if somebody would have just taught you the process.
I had a Mr. Miyagi.
That's it. All right. We're going to take off for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.